Thank you very much. It's such an honor to be here. The mayors, Dan, Paul, everybody else, wow. You know the two rules of public speaking, show up and don't suck, right? It's kind of a low bar, and I'm happy for myself that there's some hope that I'll pass it as soon as I get this thing right, and otherwise I'll ignore it momentarily. All right, so there's a lot of focus in this conference on empathy and compassion, the expression, and obviously that's a wonderful thing. But as certainly modern physics shows, and as the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago, things arise dependently. They arise dependent upon underlying causes. What are some of the causes of empathy? Some of the causes of compassion, and certainly many of the speakers have explored some of these causes. Here at the tail end of this morning is kind of a nice little, like in a restaurant, they give you this little treat with the bill to soften the bitter pill. I want to give you a little treat on your way out the door, because as much research actually shows, one of the fundamental causes of compassion and empathy for others is broadly defined feeling loved oneself. Feeling cared for, cared about, included, seen, appreciated, liked, even cherished and loved. This is absolutely innate to our biology in terms of evolution. If you think about units of evolution, we're very familiar with the notion of genes, but arguably at higher levels of organization, the capacity to enter into certain states of being, certain conscious states of being, in other words, certain experiences, were meaningful units of evolution that were selected for because they help genes pass on genes. These units of experience, in other words, such as feeling loved, enabled our animal ancestors, especially mammals and then especially primates, hominids, and early humans, to survive themselves and pass on genes that passed on genes. And as much research shows today, feeling cared about, feeling included, feeling seen, liked, and loved are very helpful in terms of long-term physical health, long-term mental health, and productivity in all kinds of settings. The opposite, of course, of feeling loved is feeling lonely, feeling socially isolated. This is a slide from a phenomenal literature review that's in the most recent issue of Psychological Bulletin. I think there's probably a arrow key here somewhere. I better not push a button. Yes, Psychological Bulletin. Anyway, I really recommend this study. I won't go through the whole slide in the time that I have, but a few key points here are that there's a great deal of research that shows that the opposite of feeling loved, in other words, feeling isolated, feeling alone in a crowd, not seen, not mattering, and not able to call up at will, to activate at will the state of being, the experience of feeling cared about broadly, is a major risk factor for many, many ailments. To just hit some of the high points on this slide, feeling socially isolated creates more activation of the sympathetic wing of the nervous system, a sense of stress and distress, more blood pressure, higher blood pressure, more activation in general of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is really at the engine of the exaggerated stress response, as well as less capacity to handle inflammation and also more lower immunity and troubled sleep, let alone some other markers in terms of the impact of social isolation, not feeling so cared about on the brain. And these experiences of not feeling so cared about, the opposite of feeling cared about, don't just show up with, the Eleanor Rigby song, right, from the Beatles, Where Have All the Lonely People Gone? But in everyday life, I think some of the loneliest people in the world are sitting across a dinner table from somebody else, right, whether it's in a restaurant or in their home. So what can we do about this? How can we cultivate over time in terms of experience-dependent neuroplasticity, getting those neurons to fire together so we gradually wire the growing capacity to activate at will or have it activated increasingly automatically as a resource state, one or more aspects of feeling cared about. This goes to how does the brain learn? The brain learns in two stages, and we usually forget the second stage. In other words, we need to have experiences in the first place. We need to activate certain states such as feeling cared about. But then in particular, we need to encode those states of mind, those useful thoughts or body sensations or emotions or desires or enactments through action and behavior. We need to install those into neural structure for any kind of lasting value. The dirty little secret, I think, in the helping professions, psychotherapist, mindfulness teacher, coach, parent, I'm all for. The dirty little secret is that most of the useful states of mind that we cultivate in ourselves or activate or encourage in the people we care for are momentarily pleasant. They're better than a stick in the eye, but they don't have any lasting value unless they're encoded into some kind of lasting change in neural structure or function. We're good at activation, not so good at installation, and so that, to me at least, is where the opportunity really is. So I propose to do a little practice with you momentarily, if you're up for it, that draws upon the two-stage process of the neuropsychology of learning, have the experience in the first place, and then enjoy it, so that it really, you get those neurons firing together, you really help them stay firing together so they get wired into your own being. So are you willing to do an experiential practice? It's San Francisco, you know, of course. Got to do it, a little touchy-feely. So I want to explore with you 5 aspects of feeling cared about. As I tell people when I do this practice with them, any port in a storm. So like any practice, it's an experiment. We'll do it in 2 stages. It's private, it's internal. You can do it with your eyes open or closed. Feel free to space out, it's all right. But if you do come back and keep those neurons firing, you will literally be wiring a growing sense of feeling cared about into the fabric of your brain and therefore your life. So let's give it a whirl here. I'm going to go through 5 separate aspects of feeling cared about, and then we'll finish up with a little comment or 2 from me about this. Okay, you want to try it? So here we go. Be aware of the transition, mindfully aware, from idea to experience. And if other thoughts or feelings arise, like not feeling so cared about, that's perfectly normal, absolutely normal. See if you can recognize those other feelings, acknowledge them, perhaps bow in their direction, and then swing the spotlight of attention back to whatever it is you're trying to cultivate here, as a friend to yourself, on your own side, because attention is not just a spotlight, it's a vacuum cleaner, sucking what it rests upon into our brain. So we want to rest it on that which would be good for us and good for others as well. So for starters, think of situations in which you feel included, places in which you belong, perhaps a group of friends that include you, a sports team, part of a family. And then see if you can explore the transition from the idea of these things into aspects of feeling included, like you're part of some tribe. And along the way, you can also explore, as Dan showed us earlier, intensifying these experiences through what's called embodied cognition, such as by putting a hand on your heart or a hand on your cheek, or perhaps as Dan showed us, a hand on both your heart and your belly. So be quiet for a few moments as you sort of marinate in feeling included, like you belong. And then a second aspect of feeling cared about to explore, feeling seen, empathized with, thinking of people who help you feel received or gotten, understood, or at least they're trying sincerely to see you. People who see the being behind your own eyes. What's it like to feel tuned into, or at least that someone cares enough to sincerely try? In meditative terms, this is a kind of concentration practice, an absorption practice, in which you're helping yourself increasingly stabilize and become more and more absorbed in some useful, beneficial state of mind. In this case, feeling seen. Notice any difficulty to experiencing one of these aspects of feeling cared about. And see if you can help yourself kind of, open wider to these positive experiences. Create sanctuary for them inside yourself. And then a third aspect of feeling cared about, feeling appreciated, respected, valued. Wanted. Or that others are grateful to you for something. See if you can make room for this experience as well in your mind, opening to it, letting it sink into you like water into a sponge, spreading inside you like a warmth, feeling appreciated. You might feel some shifts inside, perhaps feelings of inadequacy or being less than others, falling away. As your mind is increasingly pervaded with feeling appreciated in one aspect or another. And then the fourth aspect here, feeling liked. People who are friendly toward you. And by the way, these experiences can be mild, but they still count. People who are friendly at the deli across the street from work or the place you get coffee in the morning. Pets, animal companions who like you, not just when you feed them. Friends, affection coming your way, fondness coming your way. People expressing liking in a variety of ways. Maybe not always the way you would express it, but it's genuine from them. One way or another, can you open into feeling liked? You might feel your heart opening. You might feel warmer in your body. What's the expression on your face when you feel liked? And then last, feeling loved, cherished, and loved. The relationship need not be perfect, as long as in at least one slice of the relationship pie, you are truly loved. That love may well up from behind a complicated personality heading your way, but the love itself is real, opening to feeling loved. What's it like to feel loved? What happens in your body when you feel loved? You could think of beings in your life today or in your past who have loved you. Family, friends, animals, spiritual forces, spiritual factors, spiritual beings perhaps, teachers. If it's real for you, as a kind of bonus, you can explore the experience of feeling loved enough. It would be nice to be loved more. It's perfectly okay to aspire to that, but can there also be a sense of a kind of relief inside? In this life, I've been loved enough. Something can let go around clinging or craving more love. Loved enough. A kind of peace can spread inside you when you feel you've been liked and loved enough. While knowing also that it's perfectly fine to wish for and open to more. And then for the last minute here, if you like, you can explore bringing loving or caring into your mind along with feeling cared about. Just resting, becoming absorbed in love altogether, feeling both loved and loving. Since love is love, whether it's flowing in or flowing out. And you can start coming back, letting your eyes come open if they haven't been open already, while seeing if you can stay with this current, a love flowing in, love flowing out, being at home in love, broadly defined. Being at home in love, much like the fourth monkey in this picture, as well as the three other monkeys around him or her. Can you find the fourth monkey? Love is our true home. Love is our true home. It's easy to be driven from home. It's easy to experience a chronic inner homelessness. I'm very grateful for the profoundly important and even heroic work of the people in this room, as well as the leadership involved with the Empathy and Compassion in Society Conference. It's so vitally important these days to help more and more people worldwide come home to and stay home in our true home base, our home base of love. So thank you very much.